It was a hot, restless afternoon in Ipetu, a small village nestled between the dense forests of Osun State. Seyi Cole, Nigeria's youngest real estate mogul and billionaire, was passing through with his team, scouting land for his latest venture, a luxury eco-resort. The black Prado SUV crawled past the market square, its tinted windows shielding him from curious eyes. Then he saw her barefoot, standing at the edge of the road, holding a tray of roasted plantains. She couldn't have been more than 6. What stopped him wasn't just the girl's steady stare or her torn school uniform. It was the wristwatch on her small hand, a silver-faced, leather-strapped timepiece with a lion crest etched inside the dial. It was unmistakable his, a limited edition he had gifted to a woman during a hazy night in Enugu 7 years ago, a night he had since buried under contracts and champagne. Seyi stepped out, ignoring his team's protests. The market quieted slightly as he knelt before the girl. "What's your name, little one?" he asked. "My name is Zara," she replied shyly. His eyes dropped to the watch. "Where did you get this wristwatch?" Zara glanced at it, then answered softly, "My mummy gave it to me." Seyi's voice trembled. "And your daddy?" She shrugged. "I don't know him. I've never met him." Something shifted in Seyi's chest. This wasn't a business trip anymore. This was something else. Seyi tried to offer Zara a ride home, but she declined politely. "Mummy says not to follow strangers." "I only sell and go," she said with finality. He chuckled, impressed. "I'm not a stranger. I'm just someone who wants to help." But before he could say more, she'd already packed her tray and melted into the bustling crowd of the market. Seyi turned to his driver. "Follow her, quietly. I need to know where she lives." The driver nodded, disappearing into the crowd. Seyi waited 5 minutes. 10. Then the driver returned, breathless. "She's gone, sir. Vanished after turning near the pepper stalls. I searched, but she's fast." Seyi frowned. The girl had vanished like a shadow, leaving only more questions and a wristwatch that shouldn't have been there. That night, Seyi couldn't sleep. Images of Zara's dusty feet, the way she clutched the watch, and the echo of her words haunted him. He wasn't a sentimental man, but something about that child gripped him. He didn't remember much from that night in Enugu, but he remembered the watch and the woman he had given it to, a woman he never saw again. The next morning, Seyi returned, this time with a small school bag filled with books, polished shoes, a teddy bear, and biscuits. He found Zara again, standing in the same spot like she had been waiting. Her eyes narrowed. "You again?" "Yes," he smiled. "I told you I'm not bad." He placed the bag gently at her feet. "It's for you." Zara opened the bag cautiously. Her face lit up. "Everything is new," she gasped. "Are these mine for real?" Seyi nodded. "Yes, but only if you let me walk you home today. I want to meet your mom." Zara thought for a moment, then said, "If you lie, we won't talk again." "Deal," he replied. They walked down a narrow path lined with rusted zinc fences and mango trees heavy with fruit. Her home was a one-room structure on the village outskirts, the roof patched with plastic sheets and metal. She knocked gently. "Mummy, someone came." The door creaked open, and there stood a woman, weak and thin, leaning against the frame. Her eyes locked with Seyi's, and her face changed. Not with fear, but with recognition. He stepped back. She said just one word, "A daisy," and just like that, the forgotten night came rushing back. 7 years ago, Seyi had visited Enugu for a property summit. That night, weary of handshakes and deals, he'd ended up at a rooftop bar where the music was loud and the laughter louder. She was dancing alone, vibrant, carefree, with fire in her eyes. They talked, danced, shared dreams they never meant to keep. In the quiet of a hotel room, he gave her the watch. "For the strongest woman I've met," he had said. By morning, he was gone. Back in the present, Seyi stood inside the small house, the air thick with the scent of herbs and sickness. "You don't remember, do you?" Adiza's voice was a tired whisper. Seyi scanned her face, unsure. "I'm sorry. Have we met before?" Her laugh was dry, more pain than humor. "Of course not. Men like you don't remember nights like that." But I do. Zara brought her mother water and sat quietly by her side. Mummy, he bought me new shoes, she said proudly. Seyi looked at Adizi, his tone firmer. Where did she get that watch? Adizi stared at him. Maybe I was lucky. Things get lost. He stepped forward. No, that was mine. Custom made. I gave it to you. She turned away, coughing. He placed an envelope on her mat. For medicine, please. She pushed it back. I don't need your pity. Seyi kept coming. Every day after school, Zara would find him waiting under the big mango tree near the market. He helped her with homework, brought her puff puff, and taught her to spell long words. You should rest, he told Adiza once. You're not well. She ignored him, her pride shielding her from help she couldn't trust. One day, Zara asked, Why do you always come? He paused. Because you remind me of someone very important. She smiled and offered him her most precious thing, a small plastic toy she called Papa Leon. It's for you, for when you're sad, she said. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He took it and held it like gold. But the city was calling. His assistant cornered him one day near the yam stall. Sir, the investors are concerned. The media is asking questions. You've missed 3 board meetings. Seyi glanced back at Zara, drawing shapes in the dirt. Tell them I'm busy. This isn't business anymore, is it? His assistant asked quietly. Seyi didn't respond. He knew it wasn't. It was something deeper than he was ready to name. Back in Lagos, Seyi tried to pick up where he left off. Suit meetings, luxury dinners, and whispers about IPO launches. But his mind was still in Ipetu. Tiana, his longtime fiancée and socialite darling, noticed the shift. One evening, as they sat flipping through wedding catalogs in their Banana Island apartment, she held up a photo. This one's perfect. A beach wedding in Seychelles. Simple. Elegant. Seyi nodded absently, his mind clearly elsewhere. You're not here, Seyi, she said sharply. He blinked. I'm just overwhelmed with work. She narrowed her eyes. Are you cheating on me? He shook his head too quickly. It's not that. But he didn't offer more, and she didn't press. Later that night, alone in his room, Seyi opened his drawer and stared at the tiny plastic toy lion Zara had given him. He held it in his palm and whispered, I can't lie to myself anymore. The next morning, despite a packed schedule, he drove 5 hours back to Ipetu. Rain poured down as he approached Adizi's home. The hut looked smaller than he remembered. As he stepped out, he heard her voice from inside, soft but clear. He doesn't know she's his child, Adizi said over the phone. Seyi froze. Lightning cracked above him, but the storm inside him was louder. His daughter? His knees weakened as the weight of the truth hit him like a flood. Seyi pushed open the wooden door, rain dripping off his jacket, heart pounding in his ears. Adiz stood quickly, shocked. Zara peeked from behind the curtain, sensing something had shifted. Why didn't you tell me? Seyi's voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me she was mine? Adiz's face tightened. Because I didn't want your pity. I didn't want you to show up and then leave like you did before. I didn't know, he shouted. I didn't know you were pregnant. You disappeared. You left, she replied calmly, without a name, without a number. Just a night and a promise wrapped in lies. Seyi dropped to one knee on the muddy floor, not caring who saw. I love her. I love that little girl. I want to be in her life. I want to be her father. Zara slowly walked out from behind the curtain. Her eyes were wide, uncertain. Are you really my dad? She asked in a whisper. Seyi opened his arms. Yes, my star. I am, and I will never leave you again. She ran into his arms, and he held her like he was afraid to let go. Adiz turned away, wiping silent tears. The storm outside had eased, but the storm inside them was still finding its way to peace. Seyi sat with them for hours that night, asking about Zara's favorite songs, her school, and what she dreamed of becoming. He offered to take Adiz to the city for medical care, and she finally accepted not because she trusted him, but because she wanted to live long enough to see Zara grow up. Before he left, Sei reached into his pocket and placed a velvet box on the wooden table. I bought this for someone else, he admitted, but now I know I was meant to give it to you. Adaze stared at the ring and emerald stone encircled by gold. Sei, she began, but he stopped her. I don't expect an answer now. I just want you to know how serious I am. About you. About us. About Zara. He stepped outside, heart pounding, rain now just a whisper on the rooftops. As he climbed into the car, his phone buzzed. A voice note from Tiana. Hesitant, emotional. Sei, please don't make any big decisions until we talk. I'm pregnant. He dropped the phone. His world, once so clear, was suddenly blurred by two truths he never expected. One in a village, one in the city. Both his. The drive back to Lagos was long and silent. Sei didn't answer calls. He didn't return emails. He sat in his study, staring out the window as city lights flickered like temptations. He was about to become a father twice. But the weight of the past and the hope of the future warred inside him. Tiana with her luxury and expectations. Adaze with her strength and silence. And Zara, pure, vibrant Zara, who had already claimed his soul. Tiana showed up the next day, her eyes red, her belly still flat but holding a secret. I didn't know how to tell you, she said, but it's true. I'm carrying your child. Sei sat across from her, torn. I won't abandon my child, he said, but I can't pretend I haven't changed. Tiana looked at him, her voice trembling. You love her. That village woman. And the child. I love my daughter, he replied softly. And I respect the woman who raised her without asking me for a kobo. But I won't turn my back on this child either. He paused. But I can't marry you, Tiana. It wouldn't be right for any of us. Her tears fell in silence. She stood, nodded, and left, leaving only the echo of unfinished dreams behind her. Months passed. Adaze's health improved with treatment in Ibadan, and Sei visited every weekend, often bringing Zara books, puzzles, and silly jokes. Slowly they became a family not by force, but by grace. One Sunday, beneath the massive baobab tree near the edge of the village, Sei knelt again not for a deal, not for a photo op, but for the only promise that mattered. Marry me, he said simply, not because I'm rich, not because I'm Zara's father, but because I've never met a woman who taught me more about love, strength, and silence than you. Adaze looked at him, tears pooling in her eyes. Only if you never forget the dirt road that led you here. He smiled. I couldn't even if I tried. That evening, they watched Zara chase fireflies under the twilight sky. Sei held Adaze's hand, his soul at peace. Not every story ends in a city. Some begin again where the road is rough, the truth is raw, and love is carved from pain. And beneath that baobab tree, a father, a daughter, and a mother rewrote the story the world had once written for them. The end. Was Sei right to follow his heart and choose Adaze and Zara? Or should he have stood by Tiana and their unborn child? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this, filled with love, truth, and second chances. See you in the next chapter. Ron.